Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madhavo, Radha Madhava Radhe. Jayo Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jayo Prabhupada, Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva. Nisimhadev, Jayo Jai Nisimhadev, Jai Nisimhadev. Jayo Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhavasta Sakis ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Nisimhadev Bhagavān ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvijagacharya Ashotara Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvijagacharya Ashotara Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Konti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Advaita Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopada Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 2, chapter 6, verse number 7. Vikramo bhūr bhuvaḥ bhuvaḥ svaś kṣemasya śaraṇasya sarva-kāma-varasyāpi hareś caraṇa āspadam vikramo bhūr svaś vikramo bhūr svaś kṣemasya śaraṇasya kṣemasya śaraṇasya sarva-kāma-varasyāpi sarva-kāma-varasyāpi hareś āspadam hareś āspadam vikramo bhūr svaś kṣemasya śaraṇasya sarva-kāma-varasyāpi hareś āspadam. Prabhus? śaraṇasya svaś śaraṇasya vikramaḥ-varasyāpi śaraṇaspadam vikramo bhūr-bhuvaḥ-svaśya Mataji. Vikramo bhūr-bhuvaḥ-svaśya śaraṇasya caraṇaspadam bhuvaḥ-svaśya sarva-kāma-varasyāpi āspadam vikramo bhūr-bhuvaḥ-svaśya kṣemasya śaraṇasya hareś caraṇasya vikramaḥ, forward step, bhuvaḥ of the lower and upper planets, svaḥ, as well as of heaven, cha, also, kṣemasya, of protection of all that we have, śaraṇasya, of fearlessness, cha, also, sarva-kāma, all that we need, varasya, of all benedictions, āpi, exactly, hareḥ, of the Lord, caraṇaḥ, the lotus feet, āspadam, shelter. Translation. Those the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fears. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. For absolute protection from all sorts of fears, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not only in this planet, but also in all upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependence of the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service, and it is directly hinted within this passage. No one shouldn't have any kind of doubt of this matter, nor should one be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on Him only. Everyone except the Lord Himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all-pervading Supersoul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavān, the Personality of Godhead. So verse one more time. Those the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashthabhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatarvyascha Kripa Sindhupevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Second canto, chapter 6, verse number 7. Very important verse. Many of devotees give class on this verse previously. Important is because it's giving us answer to one very important question. So, in generally, desire of one Vaishnava, of one devotee, supposed to be to follow Krishna's desire wherever it takes him. It could be this planet, it could be heavenly planets, it could be hellish planets, wherever Krishna wants us, just never to forgive the Lord. But secretly in all our hearts, we have also another desire, to reconnect with Lord again, and to go back to above shelter from where we came. So I want to ask you, how many of you here would like to go back to spiritual world one day? Can you please raise up your hands? So today we will discuss about that. We will try to find the answer how we can do that, what it takes to achieve such amazing mission, and which road is ahead of us. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam there is verse 3:25-43, and in the purport of that verse 3:25-43, Srila Prabhupada said, to anyone who has full faith in Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Spiritual Master, all the import of the Vedic literatures is revealed. He does not have to seek separately. The yogis who engage in devotional service are full of knowledge and renunciation. if there is a lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not in full devotional service. The conclusion is that one cannot be sure of entrance into the spiritual realm in either the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord of the Vaikuntha planets within the Brahman effulgence unless he surrender unto lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The surrendered souls are called abhuto bhaja. They are doubtless and fearless, and their entrance into the spiritual kingdom is guaranteed. So the same rule applies to all entities, all living entities who lives on heavenly planets, middle planets, low planets, lower planets, higher planets. Everybody below the spiritual sky, they have to become abhuto bhaja, or those who doesn't have fears, fearless, joyful, and without any doubts. Those three characteristics, actually, once we develop, then we could possibly become qualified to go back to the spiritual world. Now we will go through one small journey today to answer the questions how to develop these three characteristics, what we're supposed to do, what is the recipe to develop such divine nature and to get closer to the Lord and to be able to overcome all these obstacles by going to a spiritual world. Now, in the life we have many different kind of friends, many different kind of interactions between devotees, even with non-devotees, even with animals, plants. There's so many different kind of relationships we have. And there are basically two different kind of relationships in our life. One kind which is lifting us up, that after interaction, after relationship with somebody, we feel better, we feel more Krishna conscious, we feel more uplifted. And the other kind is those who are sometimes bringing us a little bit down. And sometimes it could be even our very close friends, it could be relatives, it could be even that when we have a relationship with ourselves, that mentally we can bring ourselves down. But those who we're supposed to have more in our life is the first one. Relationship with different personalities on the way that always we can go one step further, one step closer to the Lord after having interactions. Everything else is dangerous for our spiritual life. Any kind of gossip, any kind of different speculations, any kind of material reactions, reflections, anything can bring us one step down, and then it's very hard to go back up. One of amazing friends that Krishna gave me in my life is a devotee that I respect and like very much, and his name is Navina Nirada Prabhu, and he's the person who is why I'm very amazed with him, and I'm spending a lot of time with him, because he always has tendency that we talk about Krishna. And always, you know, he's quite focused and quite careful that we don't step away too far into personal, into what's happening around us, what's happening in Mayapur, what's happening with ISKCON, what's happening with this, what's happening. We are very curious by nature. We want to know everything. But actually, if we just refocus our curiousness into the Supreme Personality, to the Godhead, then there is no doubt that definitely any relationship can be very useful. So the last time that we met, just before he went for his South American tour, that was maybe a few weeks ago, we spent a couple of hours together, and when I came to him, I came to Vaishnava Academy, I was asking him, so what we're going to discuss today? And he was telling, let's try to find an answer for a question, what does it mean being a Vaishnava? Or how to recognize Vaishnava? I mean, we can all say we are Vaishnavas, we are devotees, but how really we can recognize somebody who is truly Vaishnava? And then we found a couple of verses, we did more in research, and he prepared something before I came, and we came to amazing verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 4:24-52, which explained exactly, very easily, how you can recognize who is on the higher level of being a Vaishnava. And the verse is Padasharat Padma Pasha Roshita Naksha Dumbir No Nitar Agam Vidmunvata Padavasha Yashyam Apashvaya Sadavasham Padanguro Marga Guru Stamo Jusham. Translation. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipated all kinds of darkness in the heart of devotee. My dear Lord, you're the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened but you as a spiritual master. So this verse itself is praising of the Lord. But in the purport of this verse, and we will come back to this purport again and again and again today, Srila Prabhupada actually explains exactly what does it mean being Vaishnava, how to develop fearlessness, how to develop joy in the spiritual life, and how to remove all doubts away, that we continue on a very simple and very clear path in our spiritual life. So, first, to be able to become fearless, we need to understand what is fear. Now, many of us has fears. Is there somebody who doesn't have fears here? Hare Krishna. I want to offer my obeisances to any soul, divine soul here who doesn't have fears. We all have fears. Most of us, we have fears in our lives. But fears are actually our thoughts, manifestations of something which will happen in the future. Just think about fears for a moment. Do you have fears about something what happened yesterday? It's already happened. It's done. Finish. It's too late to have fear for that. What about right now, this moment? We can say, yes, I have fear. Maybe something will happen with this fan and it will come down. But this is, again, future. Projection of the future event. Something which possibly could happen in the near future. So basically, fears are something which bring us insecurity, and that we are projecting that possibly can happen to us or to some of those who are dear to us, or to the world, or to the nation, or whatever we come in connection together. And there is a nice story that I came to a few years ago, which really represent the way how fears function. They were a very simple, beautiful village in India, and there were two villagers who were the best friends. Basically, they were going every day together. I love villages, so for me, village stories are the right stories. So they're going to the field together. They're taking about cows together. They were doing everything together. And then one day, they were just lying on the grass on one hill. It was a beautiful day, and they were watching to the sky. And one friend asked the other one, "What are your plans for the future?" And the other villagers were watching him and saying, "Well, I was thinking to make a garden." And then his friend is asking, "A garden?" He said, "Yes, I'm thinking to buy 5 acres of the land and to make a nice garden." And then his friend is looking at him with full fear in his eyes, and he was saying, "You can't do that." He said, "Why?" He said, "Because if you make a garden, my plan is to buy a buffalo. My buffalo will come to your garden, and he's gonna eat everything. And then you and me, we're gonna have a conflict. We cannot fight, we are friends." And then his friend who won the garden, he turned, he was saying, "Look, I will put a huge wall around my garden so your buffalo cannot enter into my garden, destroy everything. You know, so basically we can solve problem like that." And then this friend was turning again and saying, "Yes, but you know, buffaloes are very strong. If you put very weak wall, he will break it. And it's not that you're going to curse me just because of your garden, you're going to curse me because of your wall and everything." And then they started exchanging more further arguments. On the end, it came even the physical fight. They start breaking their limbs and everything. This is how fear works. This is explanation of our projections in the future. You know, two best friends on the end, without any solid present reason, they can come to argumentation and ultimate fight just by projecting situations which can bring to the conflict. In this case, the fear was fear of conflict. But, you know, we have many different kinds of fears in our life. So, now we are going back to our verse 4:24-52, which is very much connected to 2:6-7, and I will explain to the end of today's class why it's very much connected. In the purport of Srila Prabhupada is saying, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in order to make spiritual progress, one must become fearless. Fearlessness is the result of material fearfulness is a result of material involvement. It is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:237, fearlessness is a creation, fearfulness is a creation of the bodily conception of life. As long as one is absorbed in the thought that he is this material body, he is fearful. And so soon as one is freed from this material conception, he becomes Brahma Bhuta. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:30-20 saying that, or self-realized, and immediately becomes fearless. Brahma Bhuta Prashanantma, Bhagavad Gita 18:54. Without being fearless, one cannot be joyful. The bhaktas, the devotees, are fearless and always joyful because they are constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. So by practicing Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, one becomes fearless and joyful. Unless one becomes fearless and joyful, he cannot understand the science of God. So basically everything what is connected with material existence, starting with our body, starting with our possessions, starting with our environment, everything is can bring us to the level of fear if we start getting connected to it. The reason why some of the yogis, they're going far away to Himalayas, or they're going to some lonely islands just to chant and to be detached, to be separate, is just because of that. They want to separate on such a way from material energy. But it's very hard to separate from material energy. It's almost impossible. The only possible way, because even if we go in the secret cave, still we have material possessions. We need some fire, we have a body, we have a cave, we have a mountain, we have everything. We need to eat something. Even those who doesn't have to eat anymore, they still have to breathe. So the point is that material existence is all around us, and we are indeed within this material realm. But if we offer everything what is material around us for the service of the Lord, in that case we are free from material desires. And the stage of mind when we are free of material desires bring us to the level that we understand that nothing belongs to us, that everything belongs to the Lord. And we are just there as a servants, as a puppets. And I will go back to this word puppet later, for quoting Radhanath Maharaj. We are just the puppets who are trying to serve the Lord, to be somebody who will just follow according to Lord's desires. In that stage, we become fearless. In that stage, all fears disappear. Because why? Because we don't have to worry about anything. Nothing belongs to me. Nothing is in my control. The person that everything belongs to, he's perfect. He never loses. He always wins. Everything is fantastic. Why to fear? There is no reason to fear. There is no reason to fear. And then we can potentially become fearless. Next thing, what happened to us when we come to the platform of being fearless is we become joyful. That's the second thing what happened to us. Once we lose all fears, and Srila Prabhupada mentioned in one purport that one of the most dangerous fears are fears of old age and fear of dying. Those two are the most dangerous one. When we're coming, I'm now 50 years old. Oh my God, I'm old. I'm getting older every day. I'm not getting backwards. There is more disease, there is more things, you remember less, you forget more. Today I forgot my glasses, so I was worrying whether I'm going to read properly this verse or not. Until just 1 year ago, I didn't need glasses, right? So we have fears starting coming up to our consciousness. And then in one moment we're thinking, oh my God, I'm 70, I'm 80. End is close. And then we start thinking, what is the end? What is that? And then that fear starts pumping up. And that fear, according to Srila Prabhupada, is the most serious that we have. Once we get rid of fear of that, we are really away from fears. That means we are in fearless zone. And we have many examples of previous acharyas who came to that stage. One of the reasons is His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. You all saw the great way how he left this world. It was fantastic. It was amazing. So the point is, it is possible. This is the good news for us. And now how it's possible, what all these great souls did, it's something which is actually written in our Shastras. It's written in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Even Srimad Bhagavatam itself is the source of fearlessness, and I will come to that soon. So, generally people think that simply by executing the occupation duties, just being Brahmana, being Kshatriya, being Vaishya, or maybe the good qualified Shudra, and or for example, if they're good grihasta or good vanaprastha, or they're following everything in sannyas properly, they believe that fearlessness will come naturally. But in the purport of next verse, 4:24:53, it said that this is not qualification. This is the good, there are good circumstances if we follow our ashram, varna and dharma properly, but it's not necessary the road to come to fearlessness, because we still need to do one more thing together with that, to be engaged in devotional service. If we are not engaged in devotional service, if we just do our duties as a duties, it's still not enough to come to the level of fearlessness. So in the purport of 4:24:53, Srila Prabhupada said, the word svadharmam indicates that the system of varnashrama, which indicates the occupational duties of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and which is the perfect institution for humanity, must be supported by bhakti yoga. If one at all wants security in life, generally people think that simply by executing the occupational duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, or the duty of brahmachari or grihasta or sannyasi or vanaprastha, one becomes fearless or securely attains liberation. But actually, unless all these occupational duties are accompanied by bhakti yoga, one cannot become fearless. In Bhagavad Gita, there are descriptions of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. But unless one comes to the point of bhakti yoga, these other yogas cannot help one attain the highest perfection of life. In other words, bhakti yoga is the only means for liberation. Now, when I came to this point, I was thinking, okay, so what is bhakti yoga? I mean, I can ask this question to any of you today, and I will probably get many different kind of answers. Similar, but slightly different here and there. And I was trying to find ideal demonstration, ideal explanation of what does it mean bhakti yoga. How to achieve bhakti at all. The other day I was having discussion with few devotees. We was thinking, what does it mean devotee? Are we devotees? Who can claim that he is a devotee? We can claim that we are Vaishnavas. We are followers of Vishnu. That we can claim. But are we devotees? Because devotee is very high standard. One time, I mentioned that a few times, Prahlada Maharaj, when I asked, he came to visit devotees in Serbia, and he was sitting on Vyasasana, give a class is done, and then he's asking, do you have any questions? And I raise up hand, and I'm asking, that was, 94, 95, or maybe 96, and I was asking, Maharaj, what do you think about devotees in Serbia? And he's looking in the room, there was maybe 25, 30 of us there, and he was saying, devotees? I don't see any devotee today here. I see many candidates for devotees. Candidates, yes, but not devotees. Or maybe somebody's hidden so much that I cannot even recognize who is devotee. So on one way, yes, we are devotees. We are devoted to the service to the Lord. But in the right explanation of the word devotee, devotee means very high. It's already very pure level. And we are all trying to achieve that level. Being devotee is something extremely, extremely high. But again, it's doable, it's possible, which is the great news for us. So we should continue looking for the way to achieve that level. which is fantastic. So I was looking for the answer, what does it mean devotee? And Radhanand Maharaj gave an amazing class, and he was explaining what does it mean being devotee. And he mentioned as example, there is no better person than Srila Prabhupada. Why he believes that Srila Prabhupada is devotee. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, he prayed to be a puppet. So Srila Prabhupada was on Jaladuta boat and he was praying to be a puppet. In Jaladuta he prayed, let me be a puppet, Krishna, and dance, and you make me dance. What we must understand is, we are always puppets. We are always puppets of Krishna. He is the ultimate controller of all the controllers. Do we want to be controlled by Krishna as a loving servant? Or do we want to be controlled by material nature through the three modes? But either way, we are always under control. A devotee who surrenders to Krishna, you are controller, I am yours. That devotee actually becomes completely fearless and could be peaceful and blissful in any situation, even in the most frustrating difficulties. Now I want to ask you another question. Is there somebody here who is completely without any control by some other influences in his life? Is there anybody who is self-controlled? It doesn't exist. We are all controlled. It's not that we have to choose whether to be controlled or not to be controlled. We can only choose who can control us. This is our only choice. And you know, when Radha Maharaj was giving this class in front of devotees was that big painting, they printed big size, it was not that big, of three modes of nature, and they're playing, you know, with a person like a puppet show, you know, the strings are there, and, you know, mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, mode of the passion. And he was referring to that painting actually. You can either choose to be controlled by those three ladies, or you can choose to be controlled by the Lord. This is our only choice in life. Whom we allowed to control us. And Srila Prabhupada clearly mentioned, I want to be puppet of you, Krishna. I don't want to be controlled by three modes of nature. I want to be controlled by you. Please let me dance how you play. Please move all these strings in the direction where you want. This is the perfect explanation of Bhakti Yoga. This is a perfect explanation of somebody who devoted his life, who can call himself a devotee. And for me, that was the most ideal glimpse into what does it mean having pure bhakti in the heart. So this is something that is, you know, we can say, oh yeah, that's Srila Prabhupada. He's Senapati devotee. He's special. You know, he came from spiritual world. It's easy for him. It's not easy for me. But anybody can do that. We are praying every day, right? We just need to choose the right prayers. Instead of asking, oh, my dear Krishna, please give me Mercedes-Benz, or please give me nice this, nice that. We should simply pray, my dear Lord, please make me your puppet. Whatever happens, let's happen by your desire. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter where, I'll follow. We have one great example of that later, we are coming, you know. Anyway, I will not spoil surprise. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.12.28, in translation and purport, in the purport is mentioned, material knowledge means ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. Philosophy means to seek after the right knowledge of one's own self, or the knowledge of self-realization. Without self-realization, philosophy is dry speculation or a waste of time and energy. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right knowledge of one's own self, and by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can get free from material attachment and enter into the kingdom of fearlessness. This material world is fearfulness. So, this verse, 1.12.28, is the proof that reading and exploring Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. The outcome that you have from interaction with Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly the same like having outcome of meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, or doing devotional service. It's not different than. Because here it's stated clearly that those who are exploring, who are researching, who are enjoying Srimad Bhagavatam, they are already on the level of fearlessness. During research, during gaining the knowledge, in those particular moments, they could be just short moments, but those moments we are fearless. And more we have those kind of habits in our life, you know, we develop fearlessness more. In purport of, we're going back now to our verse today, 267. In the purport it's mentioned, again, for protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service. So pure devotional service means having full, complete surrender and meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord. And now I brought you last part of the purport of verse that I mentioned many times today, 4:24-52, where actually Lord Shiva explains how to meditate and what are lotus feet of the Lord. It's beautiful, it's amazing explanation, and it's a deep meditation actually. It's a little bit longer, but I want you to absorb every word and to enjoy that, because it's really can bring you on a very amazing level of consciousness. So Lord Shiva has described the bodily features of the Lord authoritatively. Now he wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord. When a devotee wants to see the transcendental form of the Lord, he begins his meditation on the Lord's body by first looking at the feet of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be transcendental sound form of the Lord, and the 12 cantos are divided in accordance with transcendental form of the Lord. The first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are called the 2 lotus feet of the Lord. It is therefore suggested by Lord Shiva that one should first try to see the lotus feet. That also means that if one is seriously about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he must begin by seriously studying the first and second canto. So we should not jump cantos to going into this one. We should always start, and we are in a great position because we are in second canto today. We are right now in the lotus feet of the Lord, right in the middle. Now, Shiva's meditation is here. The beauty of the lotus feet of the Lord is compared to the petals of a lotus flower which grows in autumn season. By nature's law, in autumn the dirty or muddy waters of rivers and lakes becomes very clean. At that time, the lotus flowers growing in the lakes appear very bright and beautiful. The lotus flower itself is compared to the lotus feet of the Lord, and the petals are compared to the nails of the feet of the Lord. The nails of the feet of the Lord are very bright, as Brahma Samhita testified. Every limb of the transcendental body of the Lord is made of Ananda Chinmaya Sat Ujjvala. Every limb is eternally bright. As sunshine dissipates the darkness of this material world, the effulgence emanating from the body of the Lord immediately dries up the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul. In other words, everyone serious about understanding the transcendental science and seeing the transcendental form of the Lord must first of all attempt to see the lotus feet of the Lord by studying the first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. When one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. So this is one amazing meditation of the lotus feet of the Lord, and also in comparison with Srimad Bhagavatam, and how Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than the Lord himself. Srimad Bhagavatam actually represents the body of the Lord, and first 2 cantos, they are lotus feet of the Lord himself. Even when we do meditation, when they open in the morning Archamurti forms, when they open deities, our first meditation is supposed to start not from the face. No, it has to start from the lotus feet. That's the first what we have to see. When the altar opens, when the deity comes out, first what we have to see to be able in the proper mindset, to get the full benefit, to become fearless, we have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, then to come to the upper part, and the face could be one of the last. not the opposite. Many devotees are doing that. They just naturally, oh, such a bright face, beautiful eyes, let's dance together. But we are close to the Lord, but not that close yet. So we need to start proper meditation. We need to start from the feet and going up. Even the greatest acharyas are doing that. Even Lord Shiva is doing that. So we have to follow the proper example. Now it's almost 9 o'clock, and they told me to finish until 9. I will not go further in this topic. I will just mention today's appearance of Ramanujacharya, as I know, right? And Ramanujacharya is very great acharya, and he is actually somebody who, it's mentioned that it's like a father of Vaishnavism. So if somebody wants to become a Vaishnava, or to maintain Vaishnavism in his heart, Ramanujacharya is also the great acharya who lived, and he can also read his prayers and enjoy in that. Ramanujacharya, he is born 1017, and amazing thing about his life, he lived for 120 years, and it is documented. He passed away 1937 in Śraṇasya, in the temple. And his childhood days, he was born in Shiperumubdur. I need to read because it's very hard to remember. This is the village of his birth. At the age of 16, he was married. He got married. And then after wedding, 4 months, his father passed away. And when his father passed away, basically he was still 16 years old. He became in charge for the household. He has to provide for his family. He has to take care about his mother, about his brother, sister, about his wife. He was the head of the family. And then, because in his village it was very hard to maintain the whole family, they decided to move to Kanchi. Those who are from India, anybody was in Kanchi? Can you raise up your hands? Please, yes, great. Yes, Safari devotees there. They've been several times there. Kanchi is an amazing place. It was the center of knowledge. At that time, even today, you still can find many different schools there, many different scholars, gurus. And that time, it was really the place to be. It was a big city 1,000 years ago. It was a center of education. And Ramanuja came with his family, and they moved to Kanchi when he was just 16 and a half years old. And there he met first Yadava Prakash. There was one scholar of Shankar philosophy. It was very difficult time that time. I mean, first to re-establish religion, Buddha came, and he was presenting the non-violence, ahimsa, and then after Shankaracharya, he started to oppose that. He was going into more personal form of the God, but his presentation was that Lord doesn't have any form. You cannot just put him into body shape. It's kind of very clear, very connected to Christianity today, what was the teaching of Shankaracharya. And then Yadava Pandit, who was the first master, spiritual master, I mean not spiritual master, but guide, guru of Ramanuja, he was presenting Shankar philosophy. He was Shankar follower. And Ramanuja very fast became one of the best of his disciples, but then it didn't take him much time to understand that philosophy that he's presenting, it's not really what is close to his heart. Because he could see the form of the Lord, he could see those beautiful eyes, he could feel that Krishna is not just some imaginary power force, having influence in our lives, but it's a person. And then he started opposing his master, Yadava Prakash that time. And after 2-3 incidents, I will not go in details because we don't have much time, but Yadava Prakash asked him to leave the ashram. He's telling, leave my classroom, I don't want you to be here anymore. So he left, and he opened a small school in his house. And although his rooms and everything was very simple, very soon many people start coming there, visiting him, and he was giving them the knowledge, and he was giving him his interpretation of Vedic of Shastras, and everybody likes it. And this was dangerous for the other scholars in Kanchi that time. And they decided to kill him. They decided to go after him up to that, because in that time there was very simple way to solve problems, right? So they didn't know how to do that, and finally they were going for Varanasi for one trip, for pilgrimage, and Yadava Pandit, he was telling one of his disciples to call Ramanuja to go with them together. And Ramanuja, he agreed. He was telling, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going. But one of disciples of Ramanuja, he was a little bit skeptic, you know, and he was not sure. So they were careful. He was going together with him. He was not going alone. I think his name was Govinda. Govinda, right? Yeah. So they were going together. And then after some time, how they were coming close to Varanasi, Govinda became very close to some of the disciples of Yadava Pandit, of this another party who invited him. And he found out that they're planning to kill him just on the skirts of Varanasi where they're entering the city. So what he did, he called Ramanuja. He was asking him to come in the forest. And then when they were in the forest, he was telling, okay, please don't come back, my lord. Just stay there, continue. And he came back and he told them, look, Ramanuja is dead. The tiger came. He tried to run away, but the tiger took him and he passed away. They break him apart. So everybody was like sorrow, but actually quite happy in the heart because finally their opponent is gone. And they stay for pilgrimage a few months. In the meantime, Ramanuja has amazing situation. They were already very far away from Kanchi, very far away. But he was going and he was thirsty. He wanted to drink water and he came to one house, one simple house in the forest. And there was a woman and man living there. And they asked him, if you want to come inside, we can give you some water and you can rest a little bit from your journey. He drank water and he had amazing dream of Ramachandra and Sita, right? Lakshman? Yes, right, sorry. It was a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember now. Yes, so basically, he fell asleep. When he wake up, he figured out that actually it was not dreamed. All this lady and gentlemen were gone, forest was gone. He was on the edge of Kanchi city. He was already there. And then he came back and he continued his school. So when all this came back from pilgrimage, they figure out that actually he's there and everything is fine with him and he's running his school and more people are coming. And then they decided to abandon all their plans for killing him because he is not ordinary soul. They had fears. So basically, you know, this is how Ramanuja came there until he didn't met his the real spiritual master for the whole his life, and that was Yamunacharya, right? Yamunacharya, he came to visit him in his school and he was hosting him, and then after that Yamunacharya left for Śrīrangam because he was the Charya in Śrīrangam temple, and then after that I don't know how many years later, but Yamunacharya, he got sick and he was dying, and they called Ramanujacharya to come to visit him for the last time. While Ramanujacharya was coming towards Śrīranganath temple, crossing Kuveri river, going towards the temple, he found out that his spiritual master passed away. So when he came, his spiritual master was still in the bed, in position that in one hand, I think left hand, he was having the right yoga pose, and the right hand he was holding like this, like a fist. And Ramanujacharya sit next to him, and there was another disciples around, many of them. And again, I will not go into details, but Ramanujacharya understood that his spiritual master still didn't finish his task, and he was giving 3 different orders, recommendations that only Ramanujacharya could understand, but every time he mentioned one, his spiritual master who already passed away, he was lifting up one of his fingers. And then the second one, and the third one. And after he lifted the 3, that was it. You know, then after that they went with procession. But one of the 3 was actually that he is appointing one of his disciples to be in charge for the whole Sampradaya. And that was Ramanuja, and he became Ramanujacharya. Since that time, although he came as a married man, he accepted Shafran, and basically he never left Śrīrangam. He was traveling a lot, I know that, in his life, but his base, his space was Śrīrangana temple. I had honor to have a special darshan That's another interesting story. I don't know, but it's. I went with His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj with my spiritual master. 2002, I was serving him, and we went to śaraṇasya temple, and one of pujaris who is actually very close, he even count my Guru Maharaj as Shiksha Guru. He invited us in one small cave there below the temple, and we had one amazing situation, one amazing darshan. He told us the story. I don't know, is it confirmed story? I can tell you what I heard. I was sitting next to Guru Maharaj, but he was telling that when they put Ramanujacharya in samadhi, actually, after some time, the earth started shaking, and shaking when they put Tulasi plant to the top. Tulasi plant was always falling down and again and again. And in one moment, after a couple of weeks, the head of Ramanujacharya started showing up. And they figure out that body is coming up. And they were not sure whether he really passed away or he's in meditation. So basically, what they did, his body was up, and they start putting the tar, the black tar, on the top of his body to cool down, because body was getting to avoid falling apart. Basically, they were doing some mummification. But what is amazing thing, what I saw with my eyes, that Pujari brought jars full of nails, that their nails are still growing from his hands. The body is there, and they're picking up, collecting those nails and putting in the jars and keeping aside next to the body, which is now like the black mountain, because they're putting fresh levels again and again and again. And if you come a little bit down, you can even see that eyes are a little bit open. You can see the white, small white glimpse of the eyes which are in meditation, which is really unbelievable, amazing experience, and I don't know what is the story behind, but I know what I witnessed, and my spiritual master was next to me, so that's why I allowed myself to share with you, which was very interesting. But yes, the glories of Ramanujacharya is very hard to understand. He just by, his life, he lived 120 years, and he consciously left the planet. And he was telling his disciples when he's leaving. And last 3 days, he was telling them, okay, I'm leaving in 3 days. And after 3 days, after 1 day, he was telling it's in 2 days. And he was giving last orders. He was giving last instructions. And those instructions are amazing. We don't have time, but you can find them. The instructions that give was really, really the essence of devotional service, the essence of bhakti. And everybody should know and go into nectar of that. It's fantastic. Okay, Srila Ramanujacharya ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If you have any short question, comment, I'm ready to hear or answer. Otherwise, it's already 9:07. Thank you, Maharaj. By the way, Prabhu, we are very honored to have you with us in Mayapur. Thank you very, very much.
You asked if we had fear. My fear is to never have lost the association of devotees. That's my fear. If that ever happens to me, I'm floating in the universe again.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
That's supposed to be fear of all of us, because our main mercy is actually the association of devotees. And we are so lucky and fortunate, all of us, to have to get this special ticket to stay in the Holy Dham, in the biggest ISKCON temple in the world. And it's not temple, it's a city project. At the moment we have more than 7,000 devotees in Mayapur. And to have such a great opportunity, we should not take it light or easy anytime. One time, one devotee, I will not mention names anymore, one devotee, he was GBC for one country, for Iran. And he told me, look, I have some problem there. There are 3 different groups of devotees, and they're quarreling with each other and fighting, and they have different opinions and different things. And, so many politics are happening. It's very difficult environment. Then I was like, Iran? Wow. It must be so many devotees. What's happening? Then I asked him, how many devotees are in Iran? He said, at the moment we have 7. I was like, 7? 3 groups. They're quarreling, fighting. This is what we're not supposed to do. And I can tell you one thing. One time in my life, 92, I left Krishna consciousness. I was not connected with devotees for 2 years. And those 2 years was the biggest suffering in my life. All I was trying to enjoy and to do different things. Once I get back to association of devotees, I figure out this is really only shelter of enjoyment for me. I can't do anything else. This is the safe zone. And what Prabhu mentioned is something, if something you have to remember from today is, please never leave association of Vaishnavas and devotees, because this is our safe island. And once we learn that, then we will be grateful for any single Vaishnava we have around us, with or without mistakes. Doesn't matter. That's Krishna consciousness, and this is the right attitude. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Hare Krishna.